All right, now let's talk about handling unexpected errors. So let's go to our user table component. Now to simulate an unexpected error, I want to put an X here so we have an invalid endpoint. Now, if we go to the user's page, we get this error page. We can see the details of the error message, and where the error has happened. So in this file, on this line. Now, this only comes up in development. So when we build our application for production, we'll see a generic error page. Let me show you. So back in terminal, let's run npm run build. All right, we get a couple of errors. These errors come from ESLint, which is the code analysis tool that is used in this project. The error is saying that we cannot use apostrophe in this file. We have to properly escape it with an ampersand followed by a pause, semicolon. This is just basic HTML. So let's quickly fix this error. We go to the not found page and replace this apostrophe with ampersand, a pause, semicolon. We should do the same with the other not found page. Good. Now let's rebuild our application one more time. All right, our application is built. Lovely. Now let's start it in production mode. So let's go to the user's page. All right, we get this generic error page saying a server-side exception has occurred. Now we can customize this. Let me show you. First, we go back to the terminal and start our application in development. Good. Now back to our project. Here in the app folder, we add another special file that is the error file. So error.tsx. In this file, we should create and export a React component that will be rendered if any of our pages encounters an unexpected error. So let's create a React component and call it error page. Now we can change the message to an unexpected error has occurred. Now this component has to be a client component. You will see why in a minute. So on the top, let's use the client directive. Now back to the browser. Let's refresh. All right, here's our custom error page. Beautiful. In development, we also see this alert. We can click it to see where the error is happening. Okay. Now, there are a few things you need to know about these error pages. The first thing is that we can have error pages or error files at different levels of our application routes. So currently we have an error file in the app folder, and this can catch any error in any pages in our application. But we can also create custom error pages for specific parts of our application. For example, here in the users folder, we can add another error file, and this file or this component will catch any error that happens in any of the routes under the users folder. Now, in most cases, we don't really need to customize this to that level. We just want a generic error page where we can capture any unexpected errors in our application. So I'm going to delete this for now. All right. The second thing you need to know about this error file is that in this file or in this component, we cannot capture errors that happen in our root layout. Now, currently our root layout is very simple. We don't have anything here, just an HTML body and a navbar. But in more complex applications, if you have some logic here that could potentially cause an error, you need to create a separate error file for capturing errors in this layout. That error file is called global error. So here in the app folder, we add a file called global-error.tsx. Again, in this file, we should create and export a client component for capturing errors. Okay. Now, we don't want to worry about it for now. So let's delete it. Good. Now, in this component, we should be able to access the error that was occurred. To do that, first, we define the props for this component. We give it a property called error of type error. Next.js will automatically pass the error object to this component. So let's add it here. We can destructure it right away and grab error from props. Now, in a real application, we should log this error using a login service. So instead of logging it on the console that is only visible to our client, we should log it somewhere permanent so we can go and identify the issues in our application. There are many different login services out there. The discussion of that is beyond the scope of this course, but the one that I personally have used and like is Sentry. So head over to sentry.io. You can read about their plans. They have beautiful documentation. I love Sentry. Now, in this lesson, I just want to log the error on the console so we can see it together. So let's do a console.log and say error, and we pass it here. Now take a look. So refresh, bring up console. All right, here's the error that was happened. Okay, so we can grab this error object and send it to Sentry for persistence. Now, sometimes our errors are temporary, so in certain parts of our application, we may want to give the user the chance to retry. To do that, here in the props interface, we add a second property called reset, which has to be a function that returns void. Next.js will automatically pass the reset function to our component. So we add it here. Now, to give the user the chance to retry, here we need to add a button. So let's wrap this with a fragment. Then we add a button with the class of btn. And here we can say retry. Now, here we set onClick to a function. And in this function, we call the reset function that is passed to our component. So this is the reason why we had to make this component a client component, because in this component, we are handling the click event of this button. Okay. Now back to the browser. Here's our button. Let's retry. We still get the same error. Of course, you don't want to use this technique everywhere in your application, because otherwise users can keep retrying and you will end up with numerous repetitive errors in your error log. So use this technique only in certain parts of your application. All right, now that we have our custom error page, let's go back to our user table component and remove the eggs from here.